guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoilery gush for The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. As I said, this video will have spoilers in it, so if you haven't read this series, go ahead and check out my spoiler-free review that I will link on the screen. So I had an interesting reading experience with this because I started out reading this series before I ever got on anxiety medicine, and some of my triggers are paranormal things. So when I first started reading the series, I wasn't sure if I was even going to continue it because it's just eerie enough that I didn't want to be on edge my entire reading experience. So I ended up reading the first two books in their physical copies, and then I got the third book for a gift and just kind of let it sit there. So I read the first two books, really enjoyed them, but just was like, I don't know, this makes me nervous. And in the interim, when I wasn't reading the series is when I got on anxiety medicine, and it made my whole reading experience so much better. So I listened to the last two books on audiobook within the last month or so, and I really enjoyed both of those as well. And it was so interesting for me because there's stuff in there that would have been incredibly triggering to me, like, even just 3 years ago, 2 years ago. So I would have been in a downward spiral for months, and I had no issue. I was like driving to work and I was like, this is fine. I'm fine. This is not bothering me, and it would usually bother me, and I just want to say that medication for some people is amazing. So that's my testament right there. But it gave me the really interesting experience of having the physical copies as well as the audiobooks, and I really liked both reading experiences. I feel like the atmosphere is what can be kind of tampered with in audio versus physical, and I end up really liking that atmosphere in both, and I felt it in both, and it wasn't like the audio gave that more than the physical copy or anything like that. So I loved that whole reading experience. I really liked the audiobooks. I would have gladly listened to all of them on audiobooks. I really liked the voices that the guy did, but both were totally fine for me, and I liked them both. So since people are probably going to ask who my favorite of the Raven boys is, I couldn't even tell you my favorite character in the series, really. Like, it's so difficult. I think my favorite of these side characters, or at least of the Foxway characters, is probably Calla. Like, I just love her a lot, but I like all of their just interactions and stuff. And then my favorite villain, because there's kind of like this villain of the week thing going on with all the books, which I wasn't expecting. My favorite villain is Kavinsky. Hands down. My favorite book is The Dream Thieves, and my favorite villain is Kavinsky. And I just loved him so much. He's such a trash son, and I just love him. And he did horrible things, and I just love him. So he was great. I think that the other villains weren't quite as good. Like, Piper felt just like a little two-dimensional at times. Like, I didn't really get everyone else's motivations. Like, I got Kavinsky, but everyone else was kind of like, why are you doing what you're doing? You feel a little bit mustache twirly and not as fleshed out as some of the other characters. Like, every other character is so fleshed out, and that's the other thing, is like with this series, the fandom for the series is so extra in the way that they will be obsessed with the most minor of characters. Like, when I got into the series because of the fandom, because I used to see stuff on Tumblr all the time, and everyone was talking about Declan Lynch. And I was thinking that he would play a much bigger role in the series. No! But there's some people that are like, oh my god, Declan's like my favorite character. I'm like, why? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But that just does speak to how, like, amazing these characters are and how much she does flesh them out and how interesting they are. I do think, I'm so torn with like who my favorite Raven boy is, because in the first book I think my favorite was Adam, and then Adam I love all of them, to be very, very clear, but I think my two favorite were Adam and Noah in the first book. And then Adam he's one of those characters that like I like, but he's difficult, and it's kind of like the point, and he's going through so much and he can be so just like stubborn, so at times I can be annoyed by him, but I also love him. And then Noah just started to kind of like fade into the background a little bit more, and he didn't play as big of a role in like this third and fourth book. And then the second book on, Gansey is like probably, Gansey and Ronan are my two favorites. Gansey and Ronan are safely my two favorites of the boys. And I flip between both of them, and I like them both for different reasons. And you can tell, like, Maggie writes both of them. I mean, she writes all the characters with, like, such affection. But, like, Ronan is, like, her, right? So, like, you're sort of, like, you almost have to love him. But I just really enjoy him. I liked how the audiobook narrator did his voice. Like, I just really liked him. And then Gansey's just, like, endearing and just an old soul, so I really like him as well. Man, right after I got done with the series, I finally went on Tumblr and went through the tag and stuff, and I've been waiting to do that, and I'm still so obsessed with the Dream Thieves. Like, I just love it. I would have liked that was like, a lot of people complained because it was like they went off of the main plot. Not that there's much of a plot with the series anyway, which I'll get to, but they kind of veered off and did like Ronan's thing, and I was like, that's totally fine. I would like a whole series about that, which might be what we get with this like continuation series. As of the film of this video, we don't really have any information on the continuation series or on the spin-off series or whatever's happening with like the books that are revolving around Raven Boys. So we don't know much right now, but if we just have a lot of like Ronan focus, I'm fine with that. And it's supposed to be like a Ronan series, so I'm cool with that. What was interesting with me and the shipping in this series too is I went in again knowing about some of the ships that people really liked. But in the first book, I really liked Adam and Blue. Like I really liked them. And then in the second book, and I still ship Ronan and Kavinsky like a lot. I know it's bad, it's problematic, but I really like it. And then you were starting, as the books go on, to get hints, so like that was when like the Blue Sea stuff started, and I started to really like them, and then halfway through Blue Lily, Lily Blue, like that started to get really good, like the angst with like Blue and Gansey, man. Oh, I really like that. And then you got hints of Ronan and Adam in Blue Lily, and then you really got it in The Raven King. Some people were asking me before the end of the year if like I loved Pinch and whatever, which is Ronan and Adam. And I was like, I've only read up to Blue Lily, and they haven't really been confirmed in that book. It's like sort of hinted at, very barely hinted at, as even one-sided, and you don't really get stuff from them until The Raven King. So that's exciting. Although now, as of the filming of this video, and I haven't looked into this a ton, Maggie's doing some possibly problematic stuff. Whenever straight women are writing queer characters, especially men, it can be a little weird, and they can do some stuff that's like really crossing some lines. So I don't know a ton about that right now though, because I haven't really looked into it. I'm not like deep in this fandom, and that's probably going to be like a constantly evolving thing. So who knows, but that's a thing that I just want to recognize, that I know it's happening, but I don't know a lot about it. And with that being said, I just really liked a lot of these romantic interactions, how angsty a lot of it was. Even like Moira and the Gray Man. Speaking of, I would just love, and I mentioned this in my review, I would love a series just with the adult women of Foxway. Like, can we have an adult series about them? Because they're basically a girl gang of psychics, and I love them a lot. And I love how the series will, and especially in the last book, she was like, you know, no matter, depending on where you start this story, it could be about so-and-so. And I like how the series feels like each of them is living out their story, and it's not just about these main characters, that any of them are like the star of the story. I really enjoyed that. I think all the characters developed really well. Like I said before, they're all really fully fleshed out characters. I really enjoyed Adam's character arc of being this paranormal magician thing going on with him, and then like his real life traumatic stuff, and how at the end he's just like, he's okay. Makes me so happy. And like how Noah's like send off with like, he's the one that did time continuum stuff with poor Noah, and just like they're all so pure. Then you know about like the Ronan finds the tire, but they haven't been there yet, and just it's all mind-blowing, and I'm really excited for that spin-off series because there's so much you can do with this, and it just makes me very happy. And just like Ronan as a character and how much he's like evolved, and just from being just like so self-destructive, like still self-destructive, but like, and I just love all their friendships too. Like I talked about the relationships and romantic relationships, but the friendships, man, mean a lot to me. I love how all the boys love one another. I love how Blue loves all the Raven boys. My favorite friendship in that group is Blue and Ronan. Blue and Ronan, like, their banter, especially in the last two books, was so good. Like, I loved them, like, when they would just, like, say little things to one another, and it's so subtle, but it's just like, okay, you guys are best friends. Like, you guys need to admit that you're best friends, because you are. Speaking of friends, the one thing that I thought was kind of weird, and this is kind of like a plot thing, is the bringing in of Henry Chang towards the end. And a lot of people in the fandom will include him as like one of the Raven boys in the edits, and I'm like, he was barely around. Like, I liked him at the end, he was a good character, but I'm just like, he's not like one of the group. Like, it's like if a person came into the Golden Trio in Harry Potter in book 7. No, that's crazy. But that's why I'm saying about the fandom, like just like attaching to every single character. Like, what? But I liked him, but he was kind of like thrown in for like his mom's plot and stuff. And that's the thing about this series that I think is weak, is the plot. Like the plot, she forgets about it for most of the book and then she throws it in at the end. That happened with every single book. And especially in like Blue Lily at the very end when it's like, we discovered a demon and then it's over. Like, what? And even just the end of The Raven King, it's like, you had all these character things which are great and I love it. And then it's just like everything gets wrapped up. And I know, like, that's the thing too. The Gansey death thing feels very cheap because she was so adamant about how she's gonna kill Gansey and blah, blah, to the point where, like, and it's been a foreshadow the whole time, that I'm like, okay, he's not gonna die because you've been saying it so blatantly this whole time. Like, he's not then. Like, something's gonna happen where they're gonna figure it out. So I never got, like, super upset about the potential of him dying because I was like, there's no way, because it's been so heavily talked about, that they're gonna work out some way around it. But I thought that the way that was done was interesting, and that's why I rated this finale higher than I rate a lot of finales, because even though everything did end up generally okay, there still are, like, some things that happen, you know, like, Noah's not around, Persephone's not around, like, they did lose some people. But ultimately, I think, like, you're facing a demon. I think something more should have happened. Like, you know, Ronan's mom died, like, I get that, but they're all so minor, and I would have liked, like, a little more. Like, I almost was like, I hope Gansey does die, which is horrible because I love him, but it's just like, you've been saying he's gonna die so much that I don't believe you, and that's why it's like, okay, yeah, I knew that he was gonna die and get, like, brought back or something, you know? So that was a little weak, too. And also, like, I feel like the demon didn't really do much of anything. Like, yeah, it was sort of, like, unmaking, but, like, overall, it's like, for this to be this, like, horrible black magic death creature, and it doesn't really, like, do that much, that was a little odd. Like, I feel, something I'm comparing it to because I'm reading it right now is I'm currently reading Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. I'm not going to talk about any spoilers for it, but there is a, like, really evil creature in that finale, and that finale, he's, like, messing shit up, and that makes sense. I feel like the demon wasn't really doing that much. Like, I feel like it should have had more impact on, like, the rest of the world, not just the magical parts of it. Like, I feel like there was more that needed to be done with that, and it was more just, like, kind of being creepy and, like, you know, doing some of that stuff. So I feel like that's just another example of the plot just being a little weak and just kind of, like, thrown together, and a lot of things just, like, thrown in. So, yeah. And a lot of, I mean, you kind of have this, like, Deus Ex Machina kind of thing happening with the fact that, like, Ronan can dream, like, anything. And, like, the bee and stuff that was his dad's dream that Chang brought in and stuff. Like, you have this element of, like, they can dream anything, and so it's kind of like, I don't feel like there's a ton of risk here. They still did a pretty good job. Again, I gave, like, the overall series 4 stars, and the last book 4 stars, and a lot of finales for YA fantasy series I give, like, 3 and 2 stars because they're so disappointing. So this overall isn't that disappointing because the character stuff is so strong, but there are some elements of the plot that I'm just like, okay, this isn't as strong as it could be. This could be 5 stars, and for me it's not. So yeah, I will continue to read any books dealing with these characters because I love them. I love the atmosphere. I love the world. I love, like, everything that it's set up for, that it could be, like, they could have more. They're all, like, so magical, and I just really adore them. I just want to know what they're doing because I feel like they're characters that are truly existing, like, out there in the world, so I want to, like, know what they're up to. So I'm excited about, like, the spin-off series. I want a book of the Foxway women. Please give it to me. I want it. So yeah, overall, really good series. Very pleased with it, and I'm really glad that I ended up finishing it because for a while there, I wasn't going to. The Dream Thieves is still the best. I will die on that petty hill. It's the best one. So comment down below, let me know what you thought of the Raven Cycle. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all you guys soon. Bye.